You know that feeling when you're watching a movie and you just know how it's going to end, but you've still got to sit through all the drama? Well, today we're pulling back that curtain. We're going to take a look at what the source material for this explainer calls the architect's blueprint.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. In a world that's supposed to value truth and justice, why does it so often feel like falsehood, chaos, and just plain corruption are winning the day? The source material gives us a pretty wild answer. It suggests that what we're living in is something called the stretched moment. And get this, it's basically a powerful illusion that's playing out inside a game that has, well, already been won.
To really wrap our heads around that, we've got to start with time itself and how it's able to create this massive, grand illusion that we all experience as reality. So what exactly is this stretched moment? This is where it gets really interesting, because it uses a physics analogy. It's this temporary, localized window where falsehood seems to be victorious. And this happens because time itself gets stretched when it's near a massive force, be it spiritual or material. The source calls this force tagut, which stands for tyranny or falsehood. Think of it like time dilation near a black hole. It's a localized warp in reality where things just aren't what they seem on a grand scale.
Okay, so if that's the illusion, what's the actual reality underneath it all? Let's zoom out and look at the blueprint for the entire system, something called the dual caustic field.
According to our source, this is the bedrock structure of the universe. Reality isn't just there. It's an interference pattern. It's created when two fundamental elements interact: charged light, which represents truth and order, and smoke, which is like a preformed medium or chaos. So everything we see, everything we experience, is basically the result of this cosmic light show.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core conflict. Truth shows up in a particle state. It's definite, it has form, it follows laws. Falsehood, on the other hand, is a wave state. It's just chaos, entropy, pure guesswork. And it's the constant clash between these two states that shapes our reality. So how does truth actually fight back in this system? Well, the source brings up this really powerful concept, iron, or hadid, which it calls truth with teeth. Now, the key thing to get here is that iron isn't just a metal, it's a symbol. It's described as light with teeth, or truth made solid. It's divine law and wisdom that's been made tangible into a form that can actually govern, defend itself, and strike back against the chaos of that wave state. And this table really shows how truth adapts. In the time of Musa or Moses, truth took the form of stone. Think hard, direct, confrontational law that was meant to shatter illusions. But later on, in the era of Dāwūd and Sulaymān, David and Solomon, it took the form of iron. This was a more advanced form of truth used for governance, something you could soften and shape to build and protect a society. So, two very different materials, but both are just truth made solid for a specific time and purpose. So, you've got this stretched time, these light fields, this solid truth. How does it all actually play out in our world? The source calls it the game of respite. And here is the core logic, and it's a real mind-bender. The world we live in is actually the answer to the prayers of the righteous. But, and this is a huge but, those answers get processed through what's called the furnace of falsehood, or tagut. So all the good is there, but it's being forged in this incredibly corrupt and challenging system. Let's start with a prayer that comes from the very heart of tyranny. Yaḥyā, who was Pharaoh's wife, living right in the middle of all that tagut, she prays for a sanctuary. She says, "Build for me a house near you." And what's the cosmic answer to her prayer? The Kaaba, a house of the divine, a sanctuary of truth, built smack in the center of idolatry. It's the physical answer to a spiritual plea for refuge, literally placed inside the very system it stands against. Now think about the prayer of Ibrāhīm, or Abraham. He asked for a whole community that would be defined by one thing, its submission to the divine. He prayed, "Make us a people submitting to you." And the manifestation of that prayer is the Ummah, the global community of believers, a people defined not by race or borders, but by their submission. And they exist and persist while being surrounded by what the source calls the fire of falsehood. See the pattern? The prayers get answered, but always within the tough conditions of the game. Okay, so we've looked at the illusion of time, the blueprint of reality, and the rules of the game. Now for the final secret, the ultimate twist in this blueprint, the Mobius paradox, where victory and defeat are not what they seem at all.
So why don't we see this reality clearly? Well, the source says our perception is trapped by three knots. First, there's the knot of sound. This is the physical world of cause and effect. If I do this, then that happens. Then you have the knot of light. This is the domain of divine command, of be and it is. And finally, you have the knot of perception, which is the real trick. It's a deception that makes us focus only on the material world, on the knot of sound, and completely ignore the divine will that's actually running the whole show.
And that brings us to the central paradox that unlocks this whole system. Every loser is also a winner of a game he lost. Now, what on earth could that mean?
Let's break it down. The forces of falsehood, the Tag Hot, they are the champions of the stretched moment. Inside that temporary, distorted bubble of time, they've got the power, the palaces, the apparent win. But truth? Truth is the champion of the final time. Its victory isn't just a possibility. It is the pre-written final scene of the movie. So, if the ending is already written but we're stuck in this illusion, what are we supposed to do? The source says the only weapon we have is patience, or sabr. It's the bridge that lets you wait out the illusion of the stretched moment so you can witness the real outcome that's already been decided.
And this all leads us to the final, perspective-shattering question that this whole blueprint is built on. What if the game is already over? What if the winner has in fact already been decided?
And that is the ultimate takeaway from the source material. Time is finished. The winner is decided. The loser is simply playing out a recorded tape. And we are all just experiencing the playback of that final, stretched moment right before the credits roll.